Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Have you ever looked around at the way we live and thought, we just kinda don't seem to fit in here? Well, today we're diving into a truly eccentric, absolutely fascinating thought experiment that challenges the very foundation of who we are and really where we come from. We're going to be exploring a deeply provocative text by an author named Mubarak Abdesalami. Now, right off the bat, he's totally upfront about this. This is not a peer-reviewed scientific paper. It's a philosophical argument. It's a what if. We're going to look at some glaring anomalies and how humans interact with the world. So keep an open mind because these ideas, they're going to make you look at everyday human life from a completely alien perspective.
Okay, let's dive into the core of this. If a highly intelligent being from another world looked at Earth, would they conclude that we humans are the actual extraterrestrials? Abdesalami argues that an outside observer would immediately spot a massive, glaring problem. While literally every other creature seems to fit perfectly into its environment, human beings look like we were just dropped here by mistake.
Let's talk about what the author calls the adaptation deficit. Just think about native animals for a second. Polar bears, camels, kangaroos. They are naturally, perfectly in sync with their habitats. I mean, a polar bear doesn't need to throw on a winter coat, right? A camel doesn't need to crank up the air conditioning. They have fur, they have shells, they have all these innate physical traits. But humans, we suffer from a severe adaptation deficit. We absolutely require heating in the winter, ventilation in the summer, and manufactured clothes just to survive the climate. Without our artificial tools, we are completely incapable of living comfortably.
Then there's the incredibly artificial construct of money, which the author argues is even more proof that we're strangers here. Think about it. The Earth provides for native species completely effortlessly. You don't see animals punching a clock or paying rent to survive, do you? Humans are literally the only living beings that depend on this totally made-up, outside invention to facilitate our survival. And why? Because the natural world as it currently exists just doesn't effortlessly support our needs. And honestly, this perfectly illustrates the absurdity of our own invention. We trade physical goods, our precious time, and our energy for pieces of paper. Papers with different images and numbers slapped on them. These papers have absolutely zero intrinsic natural value. We just all sort of agreed to use them. And, as Abdesalami points out so humorously, once these pieces of paper are worn out, what do? We burn them and just print new ones. From a strictly biological perspective, that makes absolutely no sense. Even primates wouldn't bother with something so completely disconnected from physical reality.
Let's take this a step further and compare the woodpecker to the lumberjack. Indigenous species, like the woodpecker, are frugal, they're sustainable, they instinctively respect the ecosystem and contribute to this perfect, natural recycling of what the earth produces. But humans, represented here by the lumberjack, we're kind of the exact opposite. We're relentlessly greedy, we take way more than is necessary, and that leads to deforestation, desertification, and really, the sheer devastation of our own surroundings.
So that leads us to a really crucial question. How could a being that truly belongs to a planet intentionally destroy its own habitat? It's like trashing your own house. Indigenous living beings don't destroy their habitat because it intimately belongs to them. Abdesalami suggests that our total indifference to the environment actually stems from a subconscious reality. It doesn't actually belong to us. We have no true innate attachment to it, which is exactly why we act with such reckless disregard.
And this lack of belonging, it extends right down to our physical bodies, resulting in what the author calls the instinct gap. He argues that when we supposedly arrived on this planet, we faced a double ordeal, battling the cold, the heat, the predators, and the natural disasters, all without the innate physical abilities that native species just naturally use to survive. We are fundamentally lacking the built-in biological tools needed to defend ourselves.
I mean, just look at the overwhelming rapid-fire arsenal of natural weapons that indigenous species possess. We're talking claws, sharp teeth, venom, electric shocks, superheated chemicals. These beings are biologically armed to the teeth and totally ready for a hostile environment. They can attack or retaliate in an instant. The Earth is a tough place that tolerates zero weakness, and native species are biologically equipped for that fight.
But while indigenous beings rely on instincts and these incredible built-in defenses, what do we have? Fists? Fingernails? Let's be real, against a bear or a tiger, those are completely useless. Because we lack this natural armor, humans are forced to rely on external, non-bodily weapons. We literally have to manufacture everything from simple firearms all the way up to heavy war machines just to level the playing field against native predators.
And it's not just about the physical weapons either. It's our reaction time.
Animal instinct provides an immediate reaction. They are always on, always ready. Human intelligence, strangely enough, makes us slow. We have to take the time to think, to calculate, to use our excessive brainpower just to solve a problem. In the face of immediate, raw, natural danger, that overthinking is actually a massive impairment.
We really do love to congratulate ourselves on our intelligence and our dominance, don't we? We build massive skyscrapers, we split the atom. But Absalami makes a brilliantly humbling point here. Even a tiny, fragile mosquito can keep us awake all night long in a state of absolute misery. And all our massive, destructive intelligence, our bombs, our heavy war machines, they are completely, utterly useless against a simple swarm of insects.
Furthermore, for all our pride and our supposed resilience, we are incredibly fragile physically. The absolute tiniest virus or a microscopic bacterium can knock us flat. Why is that? Well, the author argues it's because our bodies don't naturally recognize all the germs present on this planet. It's like we're travelers who drank the local water in a foreign country. Our operating systems just aren't calibrated for this specific biosphere.
Unlike literally every other species on Earth that boasts a robust, naturally adapted immune system, humans are the only creatures that require an entire massive industry of pharmacies, medications, and vaccines just to recover from simple exposure to their own environment. Think about it. No other animal needs to synthesize chemicals in a lab just to survive a seasonal shift or a common bacteria.
So this totally flips our entire perspective upside down. We usually view our high intelligence as our crowning achievement, right? Our proof of superiority. But Abusalami argues that our intelligence is actually not a sign of belonging at all. Instead, it's merely a required substitute for our complete lack of natural adaptability to this planet's atmosphere. Because we don't have fur, we had to invent the loom. Because we don't have claws, we had to invent the spear.
Ultimately, just look at the grand timeline of human history. After thousands and thousands of years of existence, we still haven't actually integrated into the planetary environment. We are still fighting the weather, the animals, and the microscopic life. We rely constantly, every single day, on our brains to solve the incredibly complex problem of merely surviving in a place that just doesn't naturally welcome us.
And so, as the author concludes in his thought experiment, this absolute, non-stop reliance on intelligence over instinct heavily implies a pretty shocking origin story. If we are truly this ill-equipped for Earth, we must have originated on a completely different planet, a planet where our specific biological makeup actually made sense, a place where we could have lived normally, in perfect harmony with the environment, had we just stayed there. Which leaves us with this final, truly profound question to ponder today. The next time you put on a heavy winter coat, or hand over a piece of paper money to buy your lunch, or pop a pill for a common cold, ask yourself, if we aren't truly from here, if we are indeed the very aliens we've been looking for in the stars, where on Earth, or rather, where in the universe, did we actually come from? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.